welcome back to another Couch Friday with me, Summer Nosuke, aka Summer, and
Ointment Fly, aka Anderson.
Yay! And today we are continuing our discussion of The Last of Us Part 2, correct?
Yes, and what a journey it has been.
It has been.
We're not even that far into the game.
Nope.
But a lot has happened.
I mean, we're deep in those juices.
Yeah.
Honestly. We're pretty deep in those juices. But it's been a great experience so far from here, getting to here from the last part of the last video. So, yeah.
A lot has happened. I finally feel like I've gotten far enough into it to really be able to call out some big major differences from the last game. Probably one I definitely got to start out with that we kind of got a taste of in the last video, but I really wanted to get into it, have a few more encounters with enemies, infected and humans alike, before I could get into it. The gameplay is vastly improved in my opinion. There's some of it that's not improved upon, but I feel like the original recipe was just fine.
It's not broke, don't fix it.
It's a PlayStation game, so circle to crouch, of course. But the prone is crucial. It'll make you wonder how the hell you ever played the first one without it. Honestly, I mean, you can shoot guns, you can shoot arrows, you can throw throwable objects from prone. It's insane. I loved that. I loved the dynamic nature of, being able to be completely stealthy and with the throw of a bottle just pop up and go just take somebody to town.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the better parts. I mean, coming from an observer standpoint, when you are surrounded by enemies and I think with this game it's really hard to get a location on where your enemies are, and because of that, the prone, or as I call it, the lay down, is
the lay down
very effective because of you don't know where everyone is.
Yeah.
So it's just very effective.
Sometimes it's the only thing you can do to be like, that's the only way I know I won't get seen now.
Just lie here.
Lay in this 9-inch grass.
So
just chill for a second and hope something white happens in the listen mode, because if not,
you just lost.
Yeah.
You just have to pull a Leroy Jenkins and go for it.
Right, but I will say on the prone, something that helps with that, another function they've added, diving.
Oh.
Diving. There is so many, because they're good about the covers. They know when you're going to have to sneak past a point and somebody's just barely going to see you. And the music helps cue it.
Yes.
That don't.
Thanks to me, thank you.
Right.
I pointed that
You're like,
out.
it's getting white noisy. It's getting white noisy.
It's the music.
Yeah, it's not nearly as as just Paramount just telling you what's going on as like say Metal Gear Solid, like a ding ding with an exclamation point over the head. But it's like this white noise takes over when someone is in danger of seeing you. And it helps with the gameplay. But she did have to point it out, because I'd forgotten that from the first game, honestly. And they take it. I feel like they amplify it a little bit.
Well, yeah, because you would stay in these crouch positions for so long. It's like, hey, I think you're good. Listen to the music. There's no one out there.
Yeah.
And then boom,
you hear birds in this game, you're good.
You're good to go.
You're like, if I can hear birds chirping, I'm straight. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, you're good. Except for one aspect. There's only one aspect that kind of overrides the music.
Yes. Unfortunately, we will get to that later. Yes, and because unfortunately we did have to get to that in the game, and you will see. Also early out, I feel like I've finally gotten a little bit of a grasp of the weapons. I mean, not so much how they work. It's like I said, a lot of the original recipe, same basic formula as the first one, but with some serious improvements. It's not necessarily, I guess, the customizations they offer on a gun so much as making it glaringly obvious why you need it. The weapon sway is a real thing in this game.
Oh, yeah.
The recoil.
The recoil is vicious.
And it was very, I go back, and honestly, the first game was pretty good about that. It was very realistic. You're not just gonna pop a 38 special in this game or the last one.
When you blast a shotgun in this game, you're all the way up here.
Yeah, you feel bad for her
it.
body, honestly.
Yeah.
You're like, that's a dislocated shoulder.
That hurts.
I need you to pop it back in and fire another shell.
Quickly.
And if you don't, and honestly, and so it very much encourages you, it incentivizes you early on when you first get these weapons. You're like, I've got it finally, but I'm not done. I need to fix it a little.
It needs some upgrades.
Yes.
Without it, you are going to have a very difficult time succeeding.
She's a 100-pound 19-year-old girl.
I mean,
it's
you're gonna need that faster.
It's not a gender norms thing. It's a body weight, body mass thing. That I'm just saying, and it's a shotgun. It'll move you.
It's going to move you, and it does. Boy, does it!
Wow.
You get it, but the firing is great. You get that one good shot out. You're like,
if you're smart with your and they really obviously like the first one. Headshots are a premium.
Yes. In
this game. You really, and that's why things like the weapon sway, it all feeds into each other. They really move around a lot. They don't make it easy for you. The enemies or the infected, honestly, even the big fat shamblers even find a way to dodge my bullets sometimes. So you really have to put an emphasis on headshots, and for that reason, this weapon sway which they made very real. You really feel an incentive to mitigate that with customization. They did a great job with that. Again, there's little things outside of the customization with the weapons that I appreciated. Her knife, she had it in the first game, but she is an artist with it in this one.
She's great with this knife.
She really.
But they've had time to practice, or she's had time to practice,
and you feel that
hone her skills with this knife.
You feel that in the knife, and you feel it definitely in combination with the dodge mechanic, another mechanic we haven't brought up yet that's a huge step up from the last game. You really feel she's come into her own, combatively speaking.
Yes.
And there's some people I went up against wishing I had a gun, only to have a knife. And I came out of it surprisingly all right.
If you are good with that dodge button.
I took the words right out of my mouth.
Because if you're a player like me, and I'm a button masher through and through, I don't hit the dodge. I don't like dodging. I don't like parrying. I don't like counters. I like attack.
She played Sekiro for like 20 minutes.
I
told her she would. She played it anyway.
I played it. I did not make it out of the introduction, so.
Yeah.
But no, you can't. This game would not suit my play style. I would die a lot more than you. Because I don't dodge, I don't parry, I don't counter. I'm going to try to go for your whatever I can. I don't know how to also, what's it called? Like mitigate the recoil.
Yeah.
So I'll be just firing all over the place.
And if you don't wait for it to set back down, you keep firing.
You're going to keep firing up.
Yeah. It's really, and it's hard not to. It's hard not to get panicked. And because they don't care. They're getting ever closer.
Yes.
Whether you're firing up or firing at them, if they're not dead, they're just going to get closer. That's a very good point. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. The mechanics of the throwables, not just laying, but when you run and move, you could run and throw things in the first game. What you could not do with as much fluidity is grab them. And if you can, there's some times where you don't have a gun, or it's going to take a little bit too long, and they just walked out of a corridor and saw you. But luckily, there's a desk right between you, and on top of that desk is a beer bottle, and you're about 10 steps from them. You can grab it on the way and throw it. Almost in one motion. It's kind of cool. And it looks so human. You're like, I could never pull that off, and I'm actually human. But it's really cool. The physics engines, something Naughty Dog is famous for. If you've ever so much as even watched a Drake's trailer. Uncharted, really set it apart, and then Last of Us took it and ran with it. So it's been beautiful to see that that's actually improved.
Well, yeah, because just when you look at the small things, like when she's walking there with her backpack and you see the movement of her backpack, of the zippers, of the weight that's what's in her backpack and how it moves and sways.
It does sashay. It sashays.
It's great.
It does.
Just those small little details really add a lot of realism to the game, in addition to the guns and the dodging and the fighting.
Yeah.
Just small little backpack movements. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm here. I'm
the
there.
toggles, the straps, the zippers.
The zippers, they move. I love that.
A lot, so much went into that. And you really see the little movements. It's the little things. It's the brush up against it's a running a step too far, pushing yourself back off a wall. It's all these, the subtle touch across a desk as she's walking past it. Little things like this. That Naughty Dog really gets right.
Adds, and you really want to give props to those who took the time to add that to the game.
Yeah.
Because they could have just left it out.
Yeah.
If you brush up against the desk, you just kind of maybe brush through it, or
screw physics.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And I love when designers and developers take the time to, add those little bitty details into their games. It just elevates
the immersion.
And me just watching it, I'm watching a movie. I'm watching an episodic
Like she said,
series.
she doesn't play.
I don't play.
So
I'm just sitting and I'm watching and I'm enjoying, and I'm able to immerse myself into this world because of these small, subtle inclusions of details.
Yeah.
And I thank you for it. Thank you.
And honestly, speaking of details, I have to say you brought the little things into it. And no, this is less out of the gameplay and more into the details of it. There's obviously a story here. Yeah. However, distended at first and not confusing, but just it's got a lot of questions early on and even midway on. You really get this second story with the notes.
Yeah.
The notes. In my opinion, read the Jules notes if you can, because they're particularly emotionally compelling. But
read all of them.
Yeah, you kind of have this behind the scenes story that not always directly ties in. Some of them do with certain characters, and there's character references, and a lot of it is an origin story of how these events, these catalyzing events blossomed into these crazy blood-hungry groups as they first appear to us. And that's how they kind of appear right now.
It's an interesting way of telling the story. Yeah. We are learning about, of course we're going to learn about Ellie and Abby and everyone else, the main characters, but now we're learning about everyone else in this world. And this world is not just them.
Yeah. And I feel like you learn, honestly, as far as the wolves go, I feel like we kind of learned about them first from notes.
Yes.
Before I went into this, characters are introduced and referenced by human wolves that you're maybe, eavesdropping on, and you're like, oh, I just read about them in a note. And
it's really good because there's this comparison and contrast that you have. You read about the wolves and you experience them because you get to play as Abby.
Yeah.
And you got that whole comparison, but the scars, that's where there's this interesting split that happens. Yeah. Their notes are one thing, but then when you see them in action, it's a completely different side of them. And they're very two-faced.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see that.
And even honestly, though, we don't encounter any scars. We haven't encountered any scars thus far. I feel like we're getting the glimpses. There's a religious component to a group that is not the WLF.
Yes.
But you tap into that early, I feel like, and it's leading to something, and I hope it's not as creepy as it really honestly reads to be.
You read the creepy notes, but then you hear what the wolves have to say about them.
Yeah.
And all the stories, the horror stories of, when they're out patrolling and, we got hit by some scars. And it's just like, wait, they're all about love and care and caring for each other.
And
what's happening?
And praise her name.
Praise her name.
Sing her name. Is it sing?
Something about some love.
Her name.
Feel her love.
Feel her love.
Aha.
Nice.
Thanks.
Thank you. That was exactly it. You're like, feel the love. No, it's not love.
The wolves aren't talking about love.
Yeah.
So what's happening? Where does the split happen?
Yeah. Yeah. So. I really, I really, the enemies in this game are intricate. I gotta say.
And I think that's because they're all human.
Yeah.
Because the infected, like you said last time, they're just at this point walking wild animals.
Well, they are, but animals evolve, and there's some nasty evolutions in this game.
True.
Shamblers, and I could be wrong. These things, okay, I'm not wrong about this. They're disgusting.
They're gross.
They're nasty.
They have
they're not
globules of pus, spores.
too much. I was just gonna go with barnacles and leave it there. No, but they're truly grotesque and
terrifying,
unpalatable.
And they don't go with the music.
They don't go with the music. They make their noise is not painful, not moaning. It's just scary. It is the most Silent Hill-esque thing about this game. You look at the Shambler and you think Silent Hill. It's also got some weird mechanics as far as like how it affects you. Not so much how it affects you, but how it attacks you. Mm-hmm. The acid it emits, eats away at your health over time. And usually when they come, they're in an area that you have to circulate.
Yes.
So when you do, you're running through the crap that they're putting in the air. And eventually, but it's acid. They even allude to it in the game. It's actual acid, unlike the regular spores. So when you just run through it, it even affects Ellie.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. So, and not only that, but I think, if I watched it right, because most of the time we were scared as hell and we ran from them. We killed them and we didn't care and we walked off. If they explode near runners, they turn them into shamblers. The acid. I truly believe. I'm being honest. Watch next time.
I will.
All right.
I don't believe that at all.
I'm telling you. Well, maybe we'll touch back on that in the next episode.
Yes.
So, but it's definitely going places, fam. This world, this sprawling world, they offer a bit of an open worldness to it, and it really helps you kind of introduce Seattle the correct way. I don't think they could have done that in such a linear fashion. If they'd have done it very linear with very set boards and very
no, you couldn't have done that with that. It
wouldn't have felt like Seattle, like one of this nation's hub cities.
Stale or stagnant.
Yeah,
it would have been no life.
It wouldn't have felt like an improvement on the original game. And we've already traversed the entire country before. We've already seen how they're going to do it, and they found a way to improve it. And that's what I was hoping for.
And I think the way they did so was to focus it.
Yeah.
Now that they don't have to do an entire country, they can focus on Seattle.
Yeah.
We're going to make Seattle look awful, honestly, because it is, dystopian here. It's post-apocalyptic, but there's a beauty in its awfulness.
And there's a beauty, and there's a definite beauty when you understand that people put this together on a screen. Out of that and back into the linear format, you really dive into the meat of the story that starts out here in Seattle. It's no longer about the end of the trip from Jackson and the beginning of Seattle. You're in it. And that means things get very rocky and the plot gets very thick. For Ellie and Dina especially. Now at this point, we're going to be dropping some pretty serious spoilers.
Spoiler alert!
Game's been out for a week, I'm just saying.
But still, if you don't want to hear any type of spoilers, now is the time to excuse thyself. But first, thank you for watching up to this point.
Yes.
Love you.
Now go.
Bye. Get.
All right. Now, where were we? Dina and Ellie. Huge bombs dropped for both of these characters. A monumental secret that Ellie has been trying to keep since her arrival in Jackson is her immunity from Dina and from the rest of the citizens of Jackson.
Everyone.
And that comes out rather quickly after her face mask gets cracked.
I know. It's like such an unfortunate event. It's just like, boom, secret cells. Like, crap.
And then we find out right after escaping that scene. Barely. At that, we find out that Dina is in fact pregnant.
100% preggers.
And that drops a serious bomb on things, to be honest.
It throws a wet blanket on our tale of vengeance here.
A very wet, very dangerous blanket.
A wet and soft and cuddly blanket.
Yeah.
Because now it's not just us risking our lives, or trying to save Tommy. It's not just us being Dina and Ellie.
Yeah.
It's Dina, Ellie, and little fetus.
And now Dina went from being an ally to becoming two separate liabilities now.
She's very much a liability.
And yeah, that's where we find ourselves at the end of this at the end of this playthrough and at the end of this episode is how we're going to go forward with that.
Because Dina was so crucial
Yeah.
to the gameplay up until this point. On once we started on our mission to go after
and
the wolves.
And she very much stays supportive of the reason.
Very.
She keeps that fire lit. How's being pregnant going to affect that?
I mean, she can't do it anymore.
Yeah. And but I mean, her ideals behind it. Is it really worth it to her anymore? And I think we're going to find out, how down to ride she really is. Yeah.
Because Dina is ride or die.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been enjoyable.
Let's hope it stays that way and doesn't get too messy. Jeez.
It's already messy.
Indeed. That said, hopefully you guys will join us for the ensuing messiness.
Yay!
On the next episode of Couch Fridays with Perk and Grind.
Please and thank you.
Been great seeing you guys again, and thank you for joining us.
Always.
My name's Anderson.
And I'm Summer.
And in the meantime, stay perky.
And keep on grinding. Bye.
Later.